Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is now out playing in theaters. So growing up, I loved the Turtles, specifically the 80s cartoon, the 90s movies, and the 2003 series. That was my jam. These are not those Turtles, and that's not a bad thing because the Turtles have been around for over 40 years. So with the times, they have to adapt and changes have to be made to the Turtles. But what's important is to keep the core of who the Turtles are as characters intact, and that's what this movie does while also updating them for a new generation. Because there's a reason why these characters have endured for so long, why they've endeared audiences and kids for so long, and why a lot of us in our adult age now still look fondly upon the Turtles. And this movie does a really good job capturing that while also keeping these Turtles unique to this movie. And how they do that is by focusing on the teenager part of the Turtles. Because this time around, the Turtles are actually voiced by teenage kids. It's the first time that the Turtles have actually been voiced by kids and actually sound like kids. And in that way, the movie is able to make the Turtles feel like teenagers in a more authentic way. But even though they're skewing younger and making this a coming of age story, they're still able to keep the core of these characters intact with their personality traits. And one thing that this movie does that's really cool that I found is that some of the Turtles actually haven't found their personality traits. Like a lot of us at the age of 13, 15 years old, they're just coming into being who they're going to be. And in that way, you can see the personality traits of some of the characters like Donatello and Michelangelo start to creep up on them, but they're not quite those characters yet. Another thing that they updated pretty well was the relationship between the Turtles and April O'Neil. Because on the surface, April O'Neil in this movie looks drastically different than how we think of April O'Neil in the past iterations of the Turtles. Because in the past, she's been a reporter, she's worked for the news station, but in the movie, they actually don't make April that different of a character. She's just coming into being who she's going to be, much like the Turtles as well. She works for the school newspaper at her local high school. She wants to be a great journalist one day, and you can see the seeds that they plant in this movie to how these characters are going to grow more into the characters that we recognize in the past iterations. But one of the characters that I think they updated the best and is low-key the show stealer of the movie is Master Splinter, played by Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan plays Master Splinter with such anxious energy because of his fear of his sons being out in the world of humans and possibly getting discovered and maybe even milked by them. Jackie Chan as Master Splinter is not in the movie a whole ton, but every scene that he comes in, I thought he stole the show. He was hilarious. Some of my laugh out loud moments came from him. They also updated Splinter's backstory in a way that I think is the most realized Splinter in all of the Turtle iterations that we've gotten, at least in the theatrical movies. Because Master Splinter has always been protective of the Turtles, of his sons. He doesn't want them to come in contact with humans. But they go deeper into why that is with Master Splinter in this movie. And I thought that the way that they told his backstory, updated it, and tweaked some things worked really well for me. I also found that the movie took some bold risks. When you think of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the villain you think of is Shredder. But in this movie, you've got Superfly. Has anyone ever heard of Superfly? I certainly hadn't, and so with this movie introducing this new villain to the Turtles lore, I actually thought this villain worked very well for the movie because of the way that they connect him to the Turtles' past, because he's also a mutant. He's got a plan to create a mutant nation that the Turtles have to stop, but in the same way, they kind of have similar goals. He's just going about it a drastically different way than the Turtles want to go about it. It's really smart writing, and I love the way that they gave the villain and the heroes the same kind of ideology, but the twisted way that the villain wants to get there is why he's the villain, and he so clearly has to be stopped. Now, if I had a couple negatives of the movie, they're not drastically big ones. There's a character in this movie called Cynthia. She's kind of like a secondary background villain. She wasn't really necessary to the plot. She's definitely just there to set up more sequels in this universe, which I would be open to seeing those sequels, but some of her scenes in here, they didn't really feel like they meant anything. There were also some changes to characters from Turtles lore that I've watched in the past that I wasn't a huge fan of, like Bebop and Rocksteady, for example. You've seen them featured in the trailers and in the marketing. They're not in the movie all that much, and when they are in the movie, the way that they are presented, the way that they are characterized, it didn't feel like Bebop and Rocksteady to me personally, but this is their iteration of that, so I'm not going to knock the movie too hard on that. It was just a little underwhelming for me and a little bit disappointing. And yeah, these Turtles, they're teenagers, and they're teenagers in the Gen Z generation, and some of the humor, it kind of went over my head a little bit. Some of the humor, some of the things they say, some of their terminology, their words that they use, I'm not familiar with. So in some way, when watching this movie, I felt like I was 10 years old again, and then they would say something and I feel like the oldest man in the theater. But guys, to keep it short and sweet, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I thought it was cute, it was charming, it updated the Turtles for this generation, I thought very well. It was a lot of fun to watch. I had a blast with this movie. I'm not going to be too critical on it. In reality, it is meant for the kids, and I think the kids are really going to enjoy this. And it's also something that parents can enjoy as well, and people that grew up with the Turtles. I'm going to give it a solid recommend. I think if you're a Turtles fan, go Ninja, go to the movies and check this one out. But what did you guys think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem? Comment down below, let me know all your thoughts and opinions about this, guys. And if you're new and you haven't heard, we've got a goal on this channel. We want to hit 2,500 subscribers before the end of the year. If you like talking movies, if you like talking about the Turtles, consider joining our community. Hit that subscribe button on the way out. We'd love to have you join us. As always, guys, thank you so much for hearing me out, and I hope to talk to you guys again real soon.